Let me tell you the story of Philip, one of the survivors. Until the fateful evening of September 27, 2018, Philip was like any normal boy. He could play with his friends. He could eat by himself. Philip was a happy child and normal for a 4-year-old. At school, he could read and he could write. Smart, energetic, and full of life. This was a child with a promising future. Then, the night of September 27 happened, and his life was halted violently and changed forever. At about 7:30 p.m., these extremists entered his home. As they searched, they found Philip fast asleep on a couch. They attacked and butchered Philip in his sleep. 3 screaming sisters who tried to help were themselves attacked and wounded, weeping. The attackers walked away, leaving Philip for dead. Now he lives a severed, altered life. Now he has to be fed and helped to walk. A once independent boy has been thrown back in time to the close attention of his parents again. The schools and the community have rejected him because his learning abilities have been impaired. As a result, he cannot continue with his education. Philip's parents are distraught. This wasn't the life their son was born to live. Mother and father are consumed with grief. 4-year-old Philip is one of the survivors in a town that lost 15 people in one night.
Now, as you know, because of the insurgency in Nigeria, insecurity is paramount everywhere. Children are being kidnapped from school. This started when the Chibok girls were kidnapped 7 years ago. We thought it was just a one-off, but as you know, every other month now, children are being kidnapped. And what this has done is that it's exacerbated the problem. We now have more children that are out of school. Because if you were their parents, you wouldn't want to send your kids to school. Because can you imagine, just last month, one of the Chibok girls that was kidnapped was released, and this poor girl came back with 2 children 7 years after. This girl did not bargain for this. She went to school to study, and now she's come back 7 years with 2 children of bandits. This is not fair on the next generation of Nigerian children. It is not right. We need to be deliberate about this, because this is scarring the next generation of Nigerians. So we all need to, all hands need to be on deck to make sure no Nigerian child is on the streets. No Nigerian child is deprived from getting education. Education is the weapon that you can use to reduce poverty. It will reduce insecurity, because one of the reasons for the insecurity is because of poverty. People do not have money, they do not have jobs. And one of the reasons they do not have jobs is because they haven't got any education. So we find ourselves in a spiral cycle, which is unending. So in my opinion, the silver bullet to solve this problem is to make sure every Nigerian child gets educated. The last statistics we had from the Nigerian government said 10.6 million children are out of school, out of a population of about 200 million. This is not right. It is not acceptable. 10.6 million children is too high. These kids need to be in the classroom. So we need to support these Nigerian children to make sure they can get off the street. Whatever you can do. If you want to set up a foundation yourself, by all means, that's a good idea. If you want to support our foundation by donating to us, that's a good idea as well. But what we all need to do, it needs to be all hands on deck to make sure we get all these kids off the street and into the classroom for them to get good education. Especially because of the pandemic as well. Many children have lost out on their education. They've lost ground.
Hi folks, Boris Johnson here, taking a moment to wish you all a merry little Christmas. It's that special time of year when whatever has gone before, we can take an opportunity to celebrate all that is good in the world and to spend time with our friends and family. Christmas Day is first and foremost a celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. It is a day of inestimable importance to billions of Christians the world over. Today of all days, I want us to remember those Christians around the world who are facing persecution. For them, Christmas Day will be marked in private, in secret, perhaps even in a prison cell. As Prime Minister, that's something I want to change. We stand with Christians everywhere in solidarity and will defend your right to practice your faith. So as a country, let us reflect on the year and celebrate the good that is to come.
Thank you very much. My name is Sophie. I'm a Londoner living in Southeast London. I'm moving to Nigeria soon, in March, with my family. I'll be working for the UK Department for International Development at the British High Commission as a conflict advisor for DFID. So it's been very interesting for me to hear so many perspectives and history this evening, and heartbreaking, worrying stories. I can echo what somebody just said, that I know the British government realises that Nigeria is key to Africa's future, so my role has been funded out of the new strategy for Africa. They're very serious about making that work. My job will be to lead the security and stability shift in the relationship of the UK with Nigeria. Pray for me. I just wanted to say I would love to meet more of you after, so please come and talk to me if there are concerns or if there's anything you feel that I should know in this role. I will be able to have a role in the British response and prevention of conflict and instability. I just wanted to ask very quickly, what do you feel the international community can do or should do? And we haven't heard much about women and girls. We know suffer terrible consequences of all these situations, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on how women can have more of a voice in the future of these problems. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Katrina Lang. I'm the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, and I'm speaking to you from Kaduna. I'm so sorry that I can't join your annual conference today, but I wanted to send you a goodwill message. Organisations like PSJUK are a really important part of the diaspora. We might call it a living bridge between the UK and Nigeria.
In this video, I will be showing you how to use our pre-prepared templates to easily write to your MP about critical social justice issues in Nigeria. Go to PSJUK website and navigate to Campaigns, Contact Your MP. Scroll down to the bottom of the page and enter in your home postcode. click Go. This will bring up the details of your MP and available templates for letters which you can choose from. Click on the template for the campaign you want to write to your MP about. This will populate the draft contents of the template into the writing area for you. Please have a read through the letter and feel free to edit any part of it to fit your preferred choice of words or expression. However, please keep it respectful and factual. At the bottom of the letter is the subject of the letter, which can also be edited, and space for you to add in your personal details. Most MPs require you to add your address so they can confirm that you are one of their constituents. If you would like to be kept informed about the progress of this campaign, please tick the tick box and proceed to send your message to your MP. Thank you for taking part and engaging your MP on these critical issues.
So I would like to encourage everybody, please do not neglect Nigeria. Please go home often and try and see what's happening there and try and help. It needs to be all hands on deck. This is not business as usual anymore. It's business unusual because we are sitting on a time bomb, and when it does explode, it's going to affect us all. The old sage, Obafemi Awolowo, did say, the children of the poor who you refuse to educate today will not let our children sleep in future. I pray this will not be our portion, but we are already seeing that happening now with kidnapping and banditry all over the place. You and I can put a stop to this by investing in the education of the next generation of Nigerian children. Please, I would like to encourage you. Take time out to sponsor a child to make sure they can access education. Help remove all barriers that will prevent any child from accessing education, especially the girl child, because culturally, these children are deprived. Culturally, these girls are being married off before they are matured enough. So please let us encourage parents to send their girl child to school. We've got a classic example in Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She is a Nigerian. She's the one leading the World Trade Organization. So girls deserve to have education, especially Nigerian girls. So all hands on deck for us to support this. I am determined, I am passionate about making this happen. This is like a legacy for me, and I will do this with all my heart and with every of my breath. So I want to encourage you as well to make sure you support all Nigerian children to make sure they can access education.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sheffield. Welcome to this town hall meeting that, whilst it's focused on Sheffield, is obviously open to all Nigerians and friends of Nigeria as we come together this afternoon to discuss a very, very important matters that pertain to Nigeria. My name is Ayo Adedoyin. I have the privilege of leading the team at PSJUK, and our primary aim is to link hands together with all Nigerians in diaspora and friends of Nigeria, particularly here in the UK, to bring you information about what's going on in Nigeria, and together to come up with solutions and strategies that means that the best of Nigeria can come forth and we can maximize our potential as individuals and as a country. Now, this afternoon for the town hall here in Sheffield, I have the privilege of having some distinguished guests who are going to be speaking. But of course, most importantly, we must hear from you, the people of Sheffield, the people who are joining us from anywhere across the UK or anywhere across the world, frankly, as we address these critical issues. In a moment, I'm going to turn the floor across to a keynote speaker who would just frame our conversation before we start to pull in your comments. I'll just go through a few housekeeping rules to start off with. Most of you are either joining us live via one of the broadcast platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and whatever platform you are on, there is an opportunity for you to drop in your comments. There is opportunity for you to drop in your questions. And we really would like to encourage you to do exactly that, because your voice is very important to be heard this afternoon. And even if you are watching this after the live stream, please do go ahead and drop in those questions and comments. We would respond to you. We will feature them on our website. We have a frequently asked questions section on the PSJUK website, which affords us the ability to keep this conversation going even beyond this afternoon. If you've got a pair of headsets, please get them so that you can hear clearly and so that you can be really, really focused in to this conversation. Like I said, it will be recorded, and we will like this conversation that's sort of starting off in this season to be able to carry on beyond now. So thank you once again for coming along and joining. And I'm now going to hand over to a gentleman who is going to frame our conversation. Dr. Richard is based in Nigeria, in Lagos. He's a peace-building activist and very passionate about Nigeria. He's particularly passionate about security, social justice in Nigeria. And it gives me great pleasure to invite him right now to just go forward and frame this conversation. Dr. Richard, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Pastor Ayo. It's a big privilege to be here with us this afternoon. And I want to thank the organizers of this, PSJUK, and the gentlemen and ladies at Sheffield. I'm glad that you have been able to put this together. It's important. The importance of this is so very deep, because those of you who are in diaspora, you are very busy people, and because of, not because you're not interested in what is going on in Nigeria, but because of the exigencies of what you have to do from day to day. You are in school, you're at work. Sometimes some of the key things that are happening back home, even though you are very aware, you do miss them from time to time. And I think that is the idea behind this town hall meeting. So for my role, I'm going to keep, because of what has gone on ahead, I'm going to try and keep my remarks very brief. I particularly like the map that was played in the video that opened, that showed the various actors and promoters of violence in Nigeria and where they are active. I'm going to try and, in a few words, also show you across the land, because sometimes those of us who are from particular parts of Nigeria, we tend to imagine that the problem is either limited to our area of the country, or we think that it is another person's problem. We tend not to see that it is a national and a transnational problem, that it is a global problem. The killings, the abductions or kidnappings, the general insecurity, the raping of women and selling girls off as slaves, they are all over Nigeria. People are injured. People are now living in IDP camps. Of course, if you come into Nigeria any day, if you come into Lagos today, or go to Abuja, or go to Jos or Kaduna, you find things going on as normal. People are moving around. People are going to the farm. People are rather going to the market, particularly in the urban areas, and nothing seems to be happening in the scale which some of us tend to describe them. And so people tend to think that things have been maybe a bit exaggerated, but I can tell you not so. The Zamfara state security, I'm just going to give you a couple of quick examples. This Zamfara state security said that they have rescued 544 abducted people in 2 months. This was just last month or the month before they were saying this. They have rescued 544. That is the one. Those are the ones they rescued. So we have no idea of how many were kidnapped. We're told that 10 local government areas of Katsina are under the control of these bandits, so-called bandits. In Borno, some people say that except for Maiduguri, nowhere else is safe in Borno State. That's on the northeastern side. Zamfara is on the northwestern. Katsina is on the northwestern side. Zamfara is also on the northwestern side. So everywhere you go in the north, I have not even talked about what is going on in Plateau, in Benue, where a few more people were killed sometime this week, or Kogi or Niger State, where the killing is not talked about at all, because in many of these northern states right now, there is a blackout on communication. So the cell phones mostly are not working in many places. And so people cannot even communicate when they are attacked. The government did it thinking that, okay, if we remove cell phone use, if we remove the capacity to use a cell phone, people will not be able to communicate. But we are now told that the bandits, the terrorists, have bought walkie-talkie and they can talk. The citizens who have been attacked cannot talk because they don't have any means to report the cases of what is going on. So what we see is that all over the north, spilling into southwest, if you go to Ekiti, if you go to Ondo State, people are now living in fear. Many people cannot go to the farm. And listen, this is not about hate mongering or creating fear or giving impression that all is not well with Nigeria. The truth is that all is not well with Nigeria. It's an existential problem. The lady who spoke before was saying you should sponsor education. It's not about access to education. It's that even the will, the very roots of education is being attacked. People have no incentive to send their children to school. It's not about access. Boko Haram means a hatred for education, for lifestyle that is Western. So they are attacking the very root, the classrooms they are attacking. There was a United Nations figures that show that in between 2009 and 2020, 2,295 school teachers have been killed, and that 1,400 schools have been destroyed, and 1 million of the 10.5 million, 10.6 million that she talked about in Northeast Nigeria alone, 1 million children are out of school. So it's not about access. It's that the very root of education, the very desire to send your child to school, even if you have that desire, it's not there anymore. You know, so education is in trouble. Infrastructures are being destroyed. You know, farmers cannot go to the farm. Now everybody is afraid of the famine that is waiting to visit Nigeria because of food insecurity. Now, those of you abroad, you may say, okay, how does all this affect me? How does it affect me? Of course, it affects you, because if you were sending 100, 200 pounds to your parents or your cousins or your brothers every now and then before, you may soon be required to double that amount or triple it, because things have become extremely more expensive. A bag of rice is gone up, is doubled in price. A bag of beans is quadrupled in price. A bag of garri, the same thing. These are just ordinary staple food, you know. And if you fuel, you know, I don't want to even talk about all the economic consequences of what is going on, you know. So what we are up against is big, is extremely big, and we have to think, those of us in the UK, and ask ourselves, what can we do? What can we do in the face of what is going on in Nigeria? But before I go into that, let me quickly state that there are many reasons why this is happening in Nigeria. The first one is religious. You know, many people don't want to hear that what we are up against has religious component. But please just Google who, and we saw some of it, who are the characters behind what is going on in Nigeria. You will find that 90% of the organized characters that are causing the mayhem have allegiance to one religion or another. Just humor me and Google that. So it doesn't make sense to deny that there are some religious coloration in it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to deny that the religious coloration that is attached to it has gone beyond the Nigerian border. Now we are talking about the Islamic State of Greater Sahara, or Islamic State of West African Province. You know, these are just two. Where I'm not talking about Al-Qaeda Islamic Maghreb, which I understand has reached agreement with Boko Haram. And Boko Haram, in any case, declared at the beginning that they are on a war path against anything that is not Islamic. So anybody saying, oh, it's not Islamic, we're trying to... The thing is to face up to the fact and say, okay, now that we know that there is a religious coloration in it, what can we do about it? How can we bring the religions together? How can we make people to know that religion is not meant to cause mayhem, it is meant to bring peace? You know, but if we are in denial consistently and saying, no, don't even mention religion, then we are exacerbating the problems. So that is number one. I think we must know that religion is central to what we're talking about. The other thing is that arms are everywhere. You know, in fact, in many cases in the Northeast, in the Northwest, even in the North Central, it's been found that sometimes the arms, the weapons that these jihadist movements and other bandits have is more sophisticated than those of the regular security people, you know. So that is a major problem. Where are the arms coming from? Who is behind it? Who is funding this? These are problems that nobody is asking questions. And those of us in Nigeria, particularly when there is a belief, listen to me, I said belief. When there is a belief and there are signs to prove that that belief might be true, when there are beliefs by some people that state actors may be colluding, you know, I'm not the first person to say that. It's been repeated several times, that state actors may. So when there is that belief, and you now find out that the government is not as active as it should be, you know, to the point that state governors are calling for state of emergencies. It's unheard of that a governor of a state will say, federal government, declare a state of emergency in my state. It's unheard of. And that was the position that was taken by Aminu Masari, who is the governor of Katsina State. Katsina is the state of the president. And the state governor says, I want a state of emergency. The National Assembly says, declare a state of emergency. That is deep. That is serious. You know, so the government must own up that it has been sleeping on duty. Of course, there have been pockets here and there. During this week, or was it last week, we lost a major brigadier general. We were told 4 others, although some people, the Boko Haram themselves came back and said, no, we didn't kill 5 people, we killed 27 people. But that's neither here nor there. The fact is that Nigeria is at war. The second thing, or rather the third thing, is poor governance. Poor governance, and is linked to the denial of government. The fourth or the fifth thing is overburdened security apparatus. The state governments have been calling for state police so that they can better govern their own space. But everything must go back to Abuja because everything has been centralized. Some say that it was the intention in the first place. Other people are saying, no, we must do something about it. And there is also, because of the overburdenedness of the security apparatus, they are overstretched. If we are talking about Southwest, there are problems. We're talking about North Central, there are problems. Northeast, Northwest, Southwest. So if there are problems everywhere, and we are told that we have a police force of less than 400,000 men, some of them doing administrative job, guarding diplomats and so on and so forth. By the time you look at the men on the street who are actually keeping the peace, you have less than 250 people. Maybe 200, supervising a nation of 2 million people, 200 million people. It's unheard of anywhere in the world. So the security force is overstretched. And there are lots and lots of other things that I can go into that has caused the problem of where we are. But let me just pause here and say that, yes, there is a role. There is a role for those of you who live abroad because the Skyfall problem is not a one-man's problem. You can help the Nigerian government. You can help individual organizations that are working for the peace of Nigeria. You can help by awareness creation. You can help through training of a new crop of leadership. We just during the week had the report of the NSAR movement. Okay, there are lots of ways in which Nigerians in diaspora can help. Recently, the PSJUK worked with PSJNG to organize training for some group of people here. And the people who came for the training were extremely happy to have participated. If we can build on that, that empowers those people to go and be active in their communities and see how they can bring peace and security to their community. So there is a lot that PSJUK can do through groups, subgroups like what is happening in Sheffield. Let me end where I started. Nigeria has enough resources, enough manpower in terms of what can be done, what needs to be done in Nigeria to solve the problem of Nigeria. We have enough. We have enough. We have enough men. We have enough. It's just that the right men are not recruited to help solve the problem. That's number one. We have enough material resources in terms of food. If people are afraid that, oh, let's put all the food in our neighborhood because we're not sure there'll be food, there's enough food. Now, farmers in the north cannot transport their tomatoes to the south because of insecurity. Growers in Tivland of yam and so on cannot send. So the yam, the tomatoes are useless to them, and the people down south are hungry. So there is enough if only we will work to bring peace. And most importantly, two things that those of you in diaspora need to do. First of all, you need to engage each other. I'm trying to restrain myself from telling you what you ought to do, because whatever you decide to do should be bespoke. It should be something that you have come up with by yourself as solutions to the problem that you very clearly see. And I don't know your capacity, I don't know your areas of interest, but you are the people who can brainstorm amongst yourselves and say, we can do this. We can talk to our MPs. We can talk to the ambassador in Nigeria, the Nigerian ambassador in the UK. We can talk to the EU. We can. There's a lot that we can do. We can talk to the Nigerian government. We can hold them accountable. So it's not, PSJ is not anti-government. PSJ wants to work side by side with government. At PSJ, we have organized across the board religious meeting, brought in Shiites, Sunnis, Catholics, Anglicans together to sit around and see whether we can understand each other and find solutions to these problems. So we are for peace. We are for peace building, you know. So where do I want to conclude? I want to say to the brethren, the men and the women of Sheffield, the Nigerians and the friends of Nigeria, thank you very much for organizing this. Please don't think that this problem belongs to the Nigerians living in Nigeria only. It's a problem that belongs to all of us. It's a problem that is going to affect the whole of Europe, the whole of the Western world, the whole of Africa, if nothing is done, if it is left to fester, if it is left to just take, quote unquote, the natural course. I hope not. I hope everyone listening and your friends, you will all get involved. This bloodshed must stop. You know, the governor of Katsina, he said the other day that he can't sleep at night because he finds himself faced with a problem that he can't solve. He cannot singularly solve. So all of us, whether here in Nigeria, those of you abroad, those in government, those outside government, we all must work together, because even the federal government themselves have admitted that there is a problem. You know, so we must all work together. Thank you very much.
Dr. Richard, I'd like to thank you immensely for starting off our conversation this afternoon here in Sheffield, and just really giving us an overview of what's going on in Nigeria. And that really is a part of the picture, the very complex, multifaceted insecurity picture. But as Dr. Richard said, it's a problem that impacts all of us. It affects each one of us. Whatever the different experiences are that people have in different parts of Nigeria, we must come together, both Nigerians in Nigeria and Nigerians outside of Nigeria, to ask ourselves the question, which way Nigeria, and to proffer solutions to that. And next, as we carry on in this conversation, I would like to invite a gentleman who is from the Middle Belt, originally from the north part of Nigeria, has lived in the Middle Belt, but now is resident here in Sheffield because he is studying here in Sheffield. And I would like us to hear from him. First of all, his perspective on what Dr. Richard has shared, and his take on which way Nigeria. So welcome with me as I invite Ilya Idris to come onto the platform. Ilya, you are most welcome. And can you hear me okay? Fantastic.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Ilya, let's hear from you both over the next 5 minutes, your thoughts on what Doctor has shared and some of the perspectives and experiences that you have had from your time in Nigeria. And particularly, I'd like you to speak to fellow Nigerians in Sheffield, where you are, and Nigerians elsewhere, on how we should take forward the charge that Dr. Richard has given us. Ilya, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Pastor Ayo. I'm very grateful, and thank you for this awesome opportunity to be part of this conversation. Indeed, it's a very, very important conversation. I am also very grateful to have heard from Dr. Richard and bringing all of these facts together and trying to help us make sense of the complicated insecurity challenges that Nigeria is faced with at the moment. Indeed, Nigeria is dealing with a lot as we speak. And crisis or killing is not just the only one. But at this point in time, Nigeria really truly needs help. And we are experiencing a generation in Nigeria, particularly in northern Nigeria. By the way, I am from Borno State, Northeast. And I have had and I have seen and I have experienced the gory nature of the killings and the insurgencies and the pain and the poverty and the atrocities that are going on, particularly in northern Nigeria. I have also had the opportunity to visit a couple of villages and states, talking to victims, people who have experienced the burial of their child and that of their fathers or mother, people who are directly affected by the insurgencies. And really what I hear them say is they are just but crying for help. They are not interested in whether Nigeria is divided or Nigeria is together. They are not interested in who is ruling or who is not ruling. All they want is food on their table. All they want is to be able to go to school and send their children to school. All they want is the ability to just go to their farms and make ends meet for them. But that is not the case as we speak. A lot of things that we cannot mention here because of time are going on. And the problem of Nigeria, like Dr. Richard mentioned, it's not a problem that the government alone can handle, can deal with. Of course, the government stands a chance, and the government, being at the helm of affairs, are supposed to steer and be at the vanguard of this insurgency and bringing solution. But we see that the government is either reluctant or incompetent or really not truly concerned about what is going on. And it begs us to all put our strength and our opinions and our connections and our talents and our abilities and our resources, everything that we have to rescue Nigeria. This is not time to be sentimental. This is not time to unnecessarily, play the blind game, or as if you don't understand, or as if you don't know, or as if you don't care. This is the time we need to galvanize our strength. We need to bring our voices together, and we need to push solutions forward. And thank God for some of us that have the privilege to be here. We have power here. We can sleep. We can go to school. We can go to work. Life is normal for us here. And we may be tempted to forget where we are coming from and get involved here while our home or our fatherland is going through a lot. But, as Dr. Richard mentioned, we can come up with a very, very strong voice. And PSJUK is positioned to coordinate this. We belong to churches, we belong to different groups. We can begin to speak out and speak out strongly for Nigerians, particularly for the persecuted, particularly for the downtrodden, particularly for those that don't have anywhere else to go to, anything else to live on. Finally, before I hand over to you, sir, I have also worked with victims, young people from northern Nigeria, all over northern Nigeria, that are presently in Lagos. Most of these young people are from the ages of, some of them are even 12. This includes girls, 12 to 44 to 50. These people cannot go back home. These people are stranded. These people are going through untold, unimaginable suffering and pain. Some of them cannot reach out to their loved ones. They don't know where their loved ones are. They can't go back to their villages and so on and so forth. So I think we are really in a very critical time in our lives that we can contribute to something very important. Thank you, sir.
Ilya, thank you so much for sharing from your heart there and effectively making a call to everyone who's joining us from Sheffield, from across the UK. And really, Ilya was echoing the pain of people who are on the ground, who are effectively your brothers and your sisters. And this is a time really for us to rise up. Next, I'm going to have us hear from a gentleman who is joining us from Nigeria, but who is a direct victim on the so someone who has experienced these attacks directly, effectively on the front line of the conversation that we're having. Unfortunately, a lot of times, we receive messages on WhatsApp or we read things in newspaper. They say 10 people are killed, 15 people are killed. And after a while, unfortunately, we start to become numb to these numbers. And it's only when something major happens that we sort of get our attention. But for every single one of these situations, it is a life, a person, someone that has a family members, brothers, sisters, someone who you could have been relating with a day before, who are actually being affected. So just to say to all of you who are joining us this afternoon, your questions will be answered. And I see some of your questions have started to come through. Please continue to send in your questions and your comments, and we will get to those in a little while. But now I'm going to invite a young man, Thomas Helasini, to join me on the stage. And I would like you to hear from Thomas directly, both some of your thoughts, Thomas, in relation to what Dr. Richard shared earlier. And do tell us, give us a bit of a feel from being on the ground directly, some of your own personal experiences. Thomas, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor Ayo, and I bring greetings to the people in Sheffield, UK. I am Thomas Helasini, and currently I'm in Lagos State, Nigeria. I actually came from Borno State, from Askira Uba to be precise. And I really want to thank the first speaker as well as the second speaker, who happens to be from Borno State also. I would like to say at this point that all that the first speaker and the second speaker have said, this is the reality that Nigerians at home are actually facing. And it's not just that. I am glad the first speaker, Dr. Richard, was made it very clear that this is a national and transnational problem that has become a global problem, because Nigeria is actually sitting on a gunpowder. And if Nigeria will snap today, over 200 million citizens, I mean, it's going to be very, very devastating. In 2015, to be precise, October 29, I experienced the impact of Boko Haram directly. I mean, the morning of October 29, 2014, there was a heavy attack in Borno State and parts of Adamawa, particularly the southern part of Borno State, where Boko Haram captured over 27 local governments, including some few local governments in Adamawa State. Now, ransacking the whole of those local governments, people running to the bush, some to the mountains, others trekked. Personally, I trekked for more than 250 kilometers to get to the Adamawa State capital, alongside with several other people running, women, children in the bush. So today, it's just a privilege that I'm alive today, because during that attack, a friend of mine that we're running together was actually shot. He was shot dead, and instantly he died on the spot. So how that I am alive today, I cannot really explain how that I'm alive today, but I believe it's just God. And to be part of this meeting and to voice out and share my experience and what is happening today in Nigeria with our brothers and sisters abroad. Now, let me go a little bit back to 2012 and 2014. Personally, I am into ministry to widows and orphans in the northern Nigeria, because between 2009 and 2014, we have recorded a number of 650 widows in just 7 local governments in southern Borno, 650 widows, out of which 75% of those widows, their husbands were actually hacked to death by Boko Haram terrorists. So you can now imagine from 2014 to date. The number kept on increasing. At a point, in one of the towns in southern Borno, women were the one burying the dead because the men in those communities were completely killed. So women that were left were the ones burying the corpses, because somehow Boko Haram targets more of men to kill them. They told us, they said, we'll kill your men, then all of the women, they will carry them as their wives and they will give birth to children and recruit more militants. So this has been happening in the southern part of Borno State and parts of Adamawa as well as Gombe. So as it is right now, the news we hear, probably, for instance, the people abroad in Sheffield, across the Western world, there are two, opposing or conflicting news that normally goes out. Because all of these killings that are happening today, the Boko Haram, which later joined forces with the ISIS, became ISWAP, Fulani herdsmen, on the other hand, bandits. So these factions put together are actually working, and the mainstream media seems to underreport most of these activities. And I made a reference to what Dr. Richard has earlier said. For instance, in those regions in the extreme north, in the northeast, and other parts of the north central and northwest, you see, the terrorists will always like to attack communications so that there will be a complete blackout. People will not be able to report what is happening, and even the mainstream media find it difficult to access those areas. Like, for instance, and I gave example with the recent attack on 12th of this month, I think 12 and 13, Friday and Saturday, where the Nigerian state lost a brigadier general in Askira Uba, close to Chibok in Borno State. Now, if you observe, you look at the news, you will see that it was reported a general and 4 other personnel. But people on ground, the locals, actually saw that 17 military men were killed. So media tends to underreport some of these happenings, and it's really devastating. So I can tell you that from 2015 to date, actually things are getting worse by the day. Things are getting worse. People are being killed on daily basis. Just yesterday, to be precise, I got a report because I'm working very closely with the people on ground that were attacked on Saturday last week. So as at yesterday, they got a written letter in 3 secondary schools. One of the secondary schools, because in Uba is a town in southern Borno that became like a safe ground after the 2014 attack. So people ran from other towns and villages to come to Uba and take safety. So as a result, there's a particular secondary school in that town that has been overpopulated. You see, in one class, you have more than 250 students.
Wow.
So now it has become the prime target of the ISWAP and the Boko Haram, because just yesterday, they got letters in those secondary schools that they are coming to take 1,000 girls. They want to abduct 1,000 girls. So now people, the tension is still very high from last week to yesterday, even this morning. The school asked to send the students away because there's no enough security backup.
Yeah.
So what we are actually facing in Nigeria is a reality. And I'm just calling to join my voice with the voice of the first speaker and the second speaker to call on the people in diaspora, particularly in the Sheffield, that you can do something back home in Nigeria.
Wow.
You can do something.
Fantastic. Thomas, we really want to thank you for connecting into this call and giving us the situation from what's going on ground. And ladies and gentlemen, I imagine that even just from the little that you have heard so far, you understand that this is indeed an existential problem that is happening and unfolding right here and right now. The terrorists have written letters in the past and gone through with executing what they've said. Are we going to wait until after they've come and picked up the 1,000 girls to serve as sex slaves and cooks and suicide bombers before we suddenly now come together again? It's important that if we have a voice, we must use it for the voiceless. Thomas, I thank you, and we may very well be hearing from you again. You know, Dr. Richard described this as a skyfall problem that affects everyone. 10 local governments in Katsina State he talked about as being under the control of Boko Haram. Thomas described how the insurgents came in force, overrun an area, and now became in control of that area. Already we're hearing that across the northwest of Nigeria, there is an alternative tax regime where some of these organizations are the one collecting local taxes instead of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. We have these alternative governments in place. This is a real happening situation right now. Now, of course, we've spoken a lot about the North so far, but there is instability and insecurity all over Nigeria. The Southeast is crying out. The Southwest and their forests are crying out. And so next, for a few minutes, I would like us to hear a response on this issue from someone else who is based here in the UK and has a particular affinity and passion for the southwestern part of Nigeria. I'm going to invite Mrs. Tolu Rush to join me and just share some of your thoughts and responses to what you've heard so far. And what is your response to the question, which way Nigeria?
Thank you very much, Pastor Ayo, and thank you to all the speakers that spoke before me. I was really pleased to hear what Dr. Richard had to say and the different experiences of Elia and Thomas as well. Thank you, because it actually puts into perspective the concerns and I have, the worries and challenges that I have as somebody who is from the south of Nigeria, southwest of Nigeria, south. Now, for me, I find what I find quite challenging about the whole process that is going on in Nigeria at the moment is the fact that our government are in a position where they are rubbing the heads of the terrorists, patting them on the back. That's what it appears to me, sitting, here and listening to all that is going on, and not doing anything to actually protect Nigerians. Now, we've heard about how children who go to school are attacked, how terrorists can send letters to schools and say that we're coming to collect you, and nothing is done. But the other issue is, even when these people are found to have actually perpetuated these horrible situations, they get away scot-free. Nothing happens to them. Actually, a lot happens to them because they're actually paid off by the government to try and negotiate with terrorists, to try and get them to stop doing what they're doing by paying them. I mean, they will never stop. I mean, that's just a gravy train as far as I'm concerned. from where they are looking at it from. So we commit all these atrocities, and we get money, and then we keep quiet for a while, and then we start off again. But then the money that we are being given by the government, we're able to use to equip ourselves with more arms and ammunition. And I've just heard as well, from the people who spoke before me, that actually there is also a communication blackout. Now, in this communication blackout, there are people who are being attacked, who cannot communicate with the people to support them and help them out of the situation they're in. But the terrorists are able to actually buy state-of-the-art walkie-talkies to keep communicating with themselves. Now, in the southwest, we have this challenge of, we are being pushed to the wall. Our backs are against the wall now, and we are fighting and saying we want to survive. We have a standard of living that could be improved. There's, things can always be so much better. But what we had is actually been taken away, right? It's like we are taking light years backwards into the dark ages with what is happening in Nigeria at the moment. We don't have that confidence to continue to be able to live securely in our own homes. There are challenges everywhere, and that is just talking about the terrorists, right? Now, outside terrorism, one of the things Dr. Richard spoke about earlier on were even just the normal infrastructure of the country. How so there's challenges with roads, there are challenges with health. You go into a hospital, you are not able to get treated unless you buy everything you need to be treated, and life is just so difficult, and it's just not necessary. Like Dr. Richard also said, Nigeria has the resources. The money is there, the resources in terms of finance, resources in terms of human resources, in terms of education. We shouldn't be in the state we're in right now. But the government we have, and it's not just them, I think it started a few years back. It's not just this government, are not doing anything to help us to be able to progress. Things are just getting worse and worse. And for me, as a Yoruba person, I'm Yoruba, I feel very strongly that being separated and having our Yoruba nation, Odua nation, whatever you want to call it, we will at least be given the opportunity to improve what we have, build on what we have, and make something out of what we have. Nigeria is a massive nation. We can all do quite easily with dividing and having our separate areas. There are nations that are a lot smaller than the Yoruba nation in this world who are existing successfully. So we appear to be in this marriage with Nigeria, in this marriage with people who want to kill us, and it's like, oh no, you just have to stay married. Domestic violence. Somebody spoke earlier on about, I think, Thomas, who works with women who have undergone domestic violence, and I see it as a forced marriage where you're being abused, you're being killed, you cannot survive, you cannot farm, everything is being thrown at you, but no, you're supposed to keep quiet. And then when you do talk, you are seen as the terrorist. You're accused of being the ones who are doing the wrong thing because you're asking for survival. We got to where we are because four parents handed things down to us. We are not going to have anything to hand down to our children at the rate we're going. And I think it's really important for us to be able to stand up and be counted. It's been beautiful being in Nigeria. It's been fantastic. But if it's going to kill us, then I think it's about time we start looking at alternatives to what we have now, so we can actually survive. And it's about survival of the fittest that we're talking about. We know we're fit, we know we're able, we know we can do it, and we want to be given that opportunity.
Wow.
And yeah, so for me, that is where I'm coming from, and we'll do everything we can to keep that status quo going in the trajectory that we want it to go.
Well, I want to thank you, Mrs. Roch, for sharing your heart and sharing your passion. And please do stay nearby because we may want you to input in on some of the questions that are coming in. But for now, I'm going to invite Dr. Richard back to just really address one or two quick questions before we move on. Mrs. Rush talked about the fact that some parts of Nigeria see themselves in a forced marriage. Adebisi Oyedeji question is on the screen, where he's asking the question, are we really ripe for state police right now? If I can ask you, Dr. Richard, to give us some very quick responses to those two questions, and then we're going to move on in this discourse. Ladies and gentlemen in Sheffield and wherever you're joining us in from, if you have any more questions, please continue to put them into the chat box, both your questions and your comments. Dr. Richard, back to you. Okay, the technical team, are you able to bring Dr. Richard back on? Oh, I hear he's not connected at the moment. Okay, we're going to come back to those questions, and we will get Dr. Richard back on to answer that and some of these other questions. Other members of the panel will still come on and answer those. But before we do that, we sent our presenter, our correspondent, out on the streets of Sheffield to speak to fellow Nigerians like you and me, and to hear what their thoughts are on this important question that we're looking at in today's town hall. So I'm going to ask my back office team to roll that video. Sit back and just listen in to what the man on the street in Sheffield has to say.
Hello, my name is Tundin, and I'm here today on the streets of Sheffield to engage with Nigerians and ask the important question, which way Nigeria? Sheffield has become home to many Nigerians since the 1960s. One of the most remarkable things about Nigerians is the fact that we remain tethered together for our love of Nigeria and to see peace and sustainability thrive in Nigeria. I'm here today to ask Nigerians their thoughts on peace and or security in Nigeria.
Yeah, I believe we should be united, really, because I think the problem comes from us thinking that we should be divided in the first place. Because when we meet ourselves outside of the country, we don't care what ethnic group you're from. We just see each other as Nigerians. So if we can remove that mentality of division, I think we'll go a lot further.
I believe they should be united, because I believe once they are united, things can happen. But if they are divided, they can still be war or insecurities and so.
United we stand, divided we fall. On my opinion, I believe Nigeria is going to be more stronger, united than divided.
I honestly do believe in the united we stand, divided we fall, just because we've spent such a long time together, and there's so many minor cultural things which show that if we're divided, we won't be able to do that.
Which way to go? One of the major roles we need to play is because we have a better environment for our voice to be heard. We have a better environment to reach out to more. Understand that we are one and the same, and trying to bring about better understanding of what we think separates us really is what brings us together. So I think if we, the diaspora, can try to bring that kind of understanding to those still in Nigeria, I think it will help. Let's try to use our voice to fix unity, basically.
Nigerian diaspora have been doing a lot in the past, but I still believe there's more to do as situations are changing. Life is becoming dynamic, and knowledge is becoming more diverse and, inclusive in a way. So in the past, Nigerian diasporas have contributed a lot to revenues, to tax, to monetary-wise and otherwise. And today, the dynamics of the Nigerian economy, which is more on the side of violence, has made most of the Nigerian diaspora to turn attention to calling on the international communities to come in and help Nigeria. So I think if we do more by, the campaigns like what we're doing here today, I think it will go a long way in helping to shape the situation in Nigeria for the better. We need more campaigns, we need more awareness of what's happening in the country, and then we need more inclusion of Nigerians in diaspora to get first-hand information of what is happening. And then,
speaking up for people in the abroad as well, because there are some decisions that are being made abroad that some Nigerians are not aware of. So if they could echo the voice of the Nigerians, they believe Nigerians, they know the voice they want to be echoed, so they should echo the voice in the spaces that have it.
So Nigeria will die.
This SARS stuff. I've not been involved at all. I'm not very careful, but I know some friends have been harassed. Maybe once they call on them, they can accuse them wrongly, or check their phones, seize their phones, pick them up, and some can even from there pass away. So I think when they're training the next generation of Nigerians, they should try and give them confidence that okay, we are going to resolve things that we know are happening in the past for us to give our children the best future.
I actually have personal experience with the Lekki Tollgate issue, the NSAS, because I was in Nigeria then, and I stayed kind of close to the place, so I heard the gunshots and all. So I've had that experience. But the truth is, insecurity is something that cannot be eradicated immediately. It takes a gradual process. But what we think we need to see is the government actually making steps that are visible to us to see that they are trying their best to curb insecurity.
In 2010, I remember vividly because where I came from, the central Nigeria, just to be specific, and from the small town where I came from, I remember 2009 during the insecurity, at the very start of the insecurity, I lost over 200 of my relatives due to insurgents, because the insurgents ravaged my village in a night, killing over 200. I think it's in the International Watch have captured that. Going back, if you go to the internet, go to the International Watch, you said that vividly captured how the mass grave was mass grave and burial was done. Everything was captured, cool and clear. Up to now, I know my people have not gone by the shock, up to today. So I think I'm directly, affected and involved by the insecurity in Nigeria. And I know many of my relatives I lost. I saw things, gory things that are up till now, the flashback, is becoming something to me. So, but that's what I can say about my knowledge of, I'm a first-hand witness of what's happening. And I felt it, I know it, and it happens to me. I lost many people, I
think my family has been affected by insecurities like kidnapping. Personally, I think especially in the northern parts, because I'm from the northern Nigeria, is really bad. And in terms people just keep getting missing, and the government aren't doing enough.
The first thing is to try to make a plan that is visible to everybody, that everybody can easily access, and create a kind of structure that the plan can be monitored. So if I'm saying that I'm going to put in more security personnel, I need to create a kind of environment to make people understand that they are for their safety and not anything against them. Probably provide a kind of special means of identification. I don't know, I'm just thinking off my head, for all security personnel, that once you see this identification, the person's name is there. The way to contact the head of the department is there, so it makes you feel more comfortable. And for unity, I guess we'll just try what we can do and try to just preach the fact that where you're from doesn't really matter. Yeah. It's what you have to offer. If outside you go Yoruba. It's the funny thing, even in Yoruba itself, we have a lot of divisions in Yoruba tribes. So meaning if we separate everybody, there's a tendency that Yoruba themselves will still want to separate from each other. And the more we continue to break till we have nothing to join us together as one people.
I think first of all, we start off with insecurity, like finding like a very strong army, police force. For me, insecurity is a big issue, so I don't know how to solve insecurity issues, but that would be the top of my list here.
The issue of insecurity, because it's very common in Nigeria, it's rampant. So maybe you should try and train the police force, the military men, and try and educate them on how to treat people properly and with humbleness. And also, we should also address the issue of strike in schools, in education-wise. Then third issue, try and address the issue of unemployment, because that's paramount. At least with that can reduce the issue of maybe theft or burglary and all.
It's a collective issue to solve a problem of insecurity, but the problem in Nigeria is it's like you go to the leaf and you leave the roots of the problem. Because most of the problem of insecurity in Nigeria, it comes from idleness, it comes from lack of what to do in a situation whereby you have a lot of youth and then you have less avenues to occupy the youth. An ideal mind is a devil's workshop, and another thing is cheap political gain. It's bringing insecurity in Nigeria. So I think that first of all, if I am the one, I'll go to the root of the problem, create more jobs, create more avenues for youth to be engaged, create industries, for instance, for youth to be engaged. So go to the root of the problem, engage the people, move cheap attention of the people to give gainful ventures. So if I am the one, I'll look at the potential of the youth. And another factor is it's a global village. Things have changed. Where in terms of computer, the e-time, you understand, you can be using methods you used in the 70s to treat the issues of the country now in this dispensation. You understand? So from the leadership of Nigeria, if I have my will in Nigeria, if you are more than 50 years, you wouldn't rule in Nigeria.
Yeah. Do you have any additional comments or anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, we are one.
We should just try and make everything okay and peaceful, because we need a peaceful Nigeria, and we also need growth in Nigeria.
Probably the government should do more, and they should accept the responsibilities or things they have done, especially during the NSAS protest. So they should come up and just be honest with people. Yeah.
Well, you've heard it directly from the mouth of the men and women on the streets of Sheffield, and they have said it all. The one key message that resonated with me is that what is happening in Nigeria has a direct impact on us who are related or friends of Nigeria, wherever we are in the world. It has a direct impact, and it has the potential to have an even more greater impact than that. Now, someone who is living right here in the Midlands, here in the UK, who has first-hand experience of how what is going on in Nigeria is affecting her here in the UK is a lady called Jumai. And I'm going to invite Jumai to speak to us for a few minutes and just to talk to us about some of her own direct experiences, how things are affecting members of her family, what her concerns are, how what is going on in Nigeria is impacting her directly. Jumai, the floor is yours.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. So I was born in Nigeria in a state called Kaduna. So all my family living in Kaduna as I'm speaking with you now. And so many things have been happening in that region. So part of my family, they live in Niger. So I have heard stories coming from Niger and Kaduna as well. This started since way back 2016, 2017. That was when the killings started in that region. That was when we used to hear about Boko Haram in Borno State. But in Kaduna side, we had bandits, which are Fulani. So we used to call them Fulani, but they all of a sudden they stopped rearing cattle that we know them with. They started carrying guns, knives, and killing people, kidnapping people for no reason. Right. So we've heard about the atrocities from other speakers. So I'm not going to repeat those things. All what they said is true. It's true. But I just want to say that these things are increasing. They are not decreasing. They are not reducing. Their atrocities are increasing day by day. And one thing that the government in Kaduna has introduced is cutting off of network. Right now, as I'm speaking with you, I can't reach out to my family, both in the village and in the town. It's only my sister that lives in the area where most of the people there are Muslim. So they have network. But other areas that are predominantly Christians, they don't have network at all. So I used to call her, and then she used to tell me what is happening. She doesn't get them as well. So right now, I don't know what is happening to my father, my brothers, because they live in the village. So in that village, it's already under the bandits. So we call them bandits, but my brother has told me that other people have joined them. Those ones, they have I don't know what you call it. They have this thing, we call it rawani. They have the rawani, red ones on their head. Right. So he said they don't know those ones, but probably these are Boko Haram mixed with the bandits. So they work hand in hand, and they have taken over the forest of Kaduna all over. So this is not going to go away. Now, we're talking about what the impact of all these things. It's good to speak out, it's good, but it's not going to solve it completely. We need to go a bit further. Right, because the villagers have said that the government has hand in these things that are happening, because they have seen government trucks moving into forests with food items, delivering food to bandits, to terrorists in the forest. They have seen helicopters dropping bags, some things that look like bags, in the forest. And when there is kidnapping, people, they are on their own. Government doesn't send any security and nothing. People are on their own. When villagers have, when bandits attack villages, they do that, they kill people, and they set fire on the houses, including the food banks. So right now, in Nigeria, right now is dry season. This is the season that people harvest their crops. So most of the villages that they were lucky to go to farm, they cannot harvest what they have farmed, their farm produce. They can't go back, because what the bandits are doing now, they are ransacking villages, because they know that people want to come back to harvest their farm produce. So they are chasing people away. Now, there are about 2 or 3 villages in Niger State. I know these villages, they had to pay up to 1 million naira to go back to the village to harvest what they have farmed already. So what I'm trying to point out here is that if farmers are not able to farm, those ones in the town, how are they going to feed? So it's really, the impact is huge. It's beyond what we can imagine. It's beyond what we think. Now, these things are happening. We are not thinking of, why is this thing happening? Why is it happening? We are only looking at what is already happening. Let's think about, why is it happening? And how can we attack the source? Now, like I say, the insecurity is from the government. The Nigerian government is behind it. I will say this because there are so many evidence that show this. The Nigerian government, the state government, which is Kaduna State, where I come from, I don't know. But the elites, they know about it. They know about it. They are keeping quiet. They are not saying anything. If you live in Abuja or in the town, you might not understand. But if you go to Kaduna, stay in Kaduna, in places like Rigasa, in places like Malali, stay there for a week. Then you understand what the poor masses are going through. You will know. There's panic everywhere. There's fear everywhere. People are happy. People are mentally sick. They don't think straight anymore. They don't know what to do. The only thing they do is they go to churches, they go to mosque to pray. Because if any one of them want to speak out, the person will be in trouble. The government goes after such people. So they are all mute. Nobody wants to say anything. They are dying with hunger. No school. Nobody is talking about schooling. No. People are just looking for what to eat, which they don't have. The little food that is around is super, super expensive. They can't buy it. They can't. They don't have the money. Apart from that, the government kept sacking people from jobs. So people are dying. People are dying. Nobody is saying anything from that end because they can't. You see? Wow. So the government is behind it. Wow. If we need solution, real solution is to overthrow him, to overthrow Buhari's government. I don't know how that is going to happen, but I don't know why the West are keeping quiet, because they see everything that is happening. They see it. There are villages in Niger State, that they will go to the village, the bandits will go to the village and kill all the men, and then kidnap all the women, including children.
Yeah.
So they kill everybody.
So Jumai, what you've actually done just now is you've shown us your heart. You've spoken from your heart, ladies and gentlemen. It's the raw heart of a mother that was speaking right there. I mean, as Dr. Richard said earlier on, PSJUK is not anti-government, and I know Jumai says, "Oh, you know what really should happen now is that government should be overthrown." And of course, our perspective and our collective effort is that we should come together and find ways to put pressure on the government of Nigeria, primarily, sometimes via the UK government, because as long as we have a democratically elected government, the idea of it being overthrown is not exactly what is being pushed, is not what is being pushed at all. But you're hearing the heart's cry because of all of what you've heard in terms of the suffering that people are going through. And so now I'm going to invite back onto the screen Jumai, Dr. Richard, all the various people that you have heard from so far. And I'm going to just throw out some of the questions that have come in from the floor. As with all matters to do with Nigeria, there's never enough time. But just bear with us as we throw out some questions very quickly and then I'm just going to ask you to please, as much as possible, give us very short answers. Dr. Richard, you heard Jumai's heart cry there. What would be your response to her as she's looking at the helplessness of what lies before? Dr. Richard. Okay, I think you're still on mute. In fact, all of my speakers, you're all on mute. So please go ahead and unmute yourselves. Dr. Richard, are you able to take that? Okay, whilst you're trying... Oh, yes, I think Dr. Richard. Yeah, go ahead and answer Jumai.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Now, the thing really is not to lose hope, because if we lose hope, we are in despair. The reason we are having this conversation at all is to see where we can have a solution. The day we lose hope, we shouldn't even be talking. Everybody should just go home. So that's the first thing I want to say. I see a question that is almost similar to that says, should we put our trust in the international community? We shouldn't put our trust in anybody but ourselves. I believe that every problem has a solution, and we are the ones to look for that solution from amongst ourselves. International community will help us if we bring this to their attention. But if amongst us Nigerians, we are even ignorant and we're not as aware as we should be, why should we blame the international community that doesn't know about us? You know, so we have to bring it to their attention, and we have to state exactly what we want and what we want done. I have heard suggestion made that, okay, let everybody go his way. I don't know if that will solve the problem. What I always say is, the people who are doing this are few. It's just that they are organized. If the rest of us are organized and we have a plan and we are talking to each other and we seek within ourselves, we will come out with solutions that can solve our problem. There are instances in international experiences where nations found themselves in this type of problems in the past, and they overcame it. You know, India was one of the poorest, hungriest nations. The Indians in diaspora help out. The Israelis in diaspora are helping Israel. The Arab Christians in diaspora are helping Arab. The Chinese in diaspora are helping China with technology. The Japanese in diaspora are helping Japan with management capabilities. So if those of us in diaspora harness our resources, our mental power, our intellectual power, our resources, and we actually say we want to help to solve the problem of Nigeria, I believe God will give us solutions. God will give us how to approach the host governments where we are, whether we are in the UK or in France or in Belgium. God will give us a solution on how to talk with the various ambassadors in our country and the diasporan ambassadors that are in Nigeria. So there are several ways in which, as I said before, I live here. I don't know where your strengths are in Sheffield, how you can help mobilize the entire Midlands, how you can talk to the people in Scotland and cooperate with the people in Cardiff and London. So we must first of all have to build an organization. The solutions will come.
Yeah. No, Doctor, thanks so much for that. And I see you answered Kume's question as well. A question came through earlier on about whether we are ripe for state police. Thomas, let me throw that question at you. What are your thoughts about that as part of the solution? Thomas, I think you're still on mute. I can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Thank you. Yeah, so state police actually at this time is needed. Number one, I want to draw our attention to Benue State. The governor of Benue State in the recent times had to, work on their constitution to be able to accommodate local security to supplement the effort of the police and the military. But even with that, we still see, attacks on Benue State. A report just came from Benue State, I think 2 days ago or so, that from January to date, over 1,700 people were killed, and also over 100 uniformed men were killed in Benue State alone, Benue State. Wow. So they work on their constitution, the state constitution, and they were able to accommodate local security that is being, they call it volunteers, and it's being supervised by the traditional rulers alongside the state government to be able to cope the situation. So it's actually a welcome idea at this point. Looking at the security capacity we have as a nation is actually very limited.
Absolutely. And not to say that there would not be challenges, but those challenges can be ironed out so that the system can work. One of the challenges, a question that came from someone else, Ilya, I'm going to throw to you, is that 250 million naira, maybe per month, possibly, it was at the disposal of the governor. What are they doing with it? What is happening with the security vote that is being shared at the moment? What are your thoughts?
It's a big question. What is really happening? I wish we have the governors to answer these questions. If they are really getting these monies and they are misappropriating it, so they're using it for something else, that is very, very sad. And it tells how distant, the solutions to our problems are when it comes to the insecurity happening in our states and in Nigeria.
I guess that's also why the whole issue of governance is important, because we must have a policy framework that means that governors cannot just simply misappropriate however much money it is that they have. And that really is why we should all lend our voices to this. Dr. Richard, I think you wanted to come back in on that.
Yes, I want to say, in terms of security, 250 million is a small amount of money. If just to acquire just electronic equipment alone and buy cars, buy jeeps, it's not a lot of money. That's not to say that governors are not misappropriating the money. If you really, and then the other problem that is closely tied to that. When you leave security at the center, you and I were at a meeting last weekend this time, and I was asking one of the people who came to that meeting, and he said, "We've been trying to get our members into the Nigerian police recruitment. These are northerners. They cannot even get fellow northerners into the recruitment process. Why? Because the whole system is unified at the center, at the federal government. They choose, first of all, they didn't even put it out that they are recruiting. They are basically just recruiting a certain group of people of certain religion persuasion, and there are stories from NNPC, from Central Bank, from Ports Authority of this clandestine recruitment going on at the centers. So I think what you really need to do is to give the governors capacity and resources to build state police. Of course, the people will make them. The people, because if security breaks down in your state and you are in charge of security and you have wherewithal, you don't have any excuse now. Now they can make excuse and say it's because the federal government has not given us capacity,
Yeah.
or because it's not in our hands. But if you are Lagos State Governor and we know that you have the control of the police, forget about what people are saying about using the police during elections. We are talking about day-to-day security of
Yeah.
the average citizen Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think any governor will get away with it and still
Yes.
be governor the next day.
Yes. And that's where accountability kicks in. Our time is fast spent, and all of the questions that need asking have not been exhausted. And so, ladies and gentlemen who were connected in, my first appeal to you is do fire in any more of those questions that you do have, because the answers and the conversation will carry on our website. I mentioned earlier that we now have a frequently asked questions section on the website, which we will be putting answers to. But before we wrap up this bit, and then I'm going to bring on one more person, I want to throw out a very quick question, both to you, Tolu Roche, and to you, Jumai. You've heard, Tolu, it being said in various guises and in various formats that we are stronger together. There's a danger the minute we start separating, where exactly do we stop? Just listening to this, what is your reaction to what it would take for us to remain as one strong unit?
Thank you very much for that, Pastor Ayo. Now, some people will say we're stronger together. It was very interesting looking at the way the Sheffield videos were edited. I don't believe everybody in Sheffield had that opinion, but that was what was presented. There is definitely strength in staying together. No one could ever argue about that. I think right from when we were young, we were told that. But if one side is trying to eliminate the other side completely from the picture, then we just won't be there. We won't exist. I mean, I've just heard Dr. Richard say that even when it comes to recruitment, it's being controlled centrally, and just a certain group of people are being considered for employment. Now, there are other people in the country who need to survive. There are other people in the country who need, jobs. We have our youth not doing anything because they just no employment, and we insist that if we stay together, we're happier together and we will survive. I don't believe we will. We just want to see how best we can survive and other people in the country can survive as well, so that nobody is eliminated. And that's how I feel at the moment, that we are being pushed out and our survival is very questionable. There are different ways we can think about of how Nigeria can survive. I'm more particular about how Yorubas can survive in this process.
Well, I mean, one of the things Dr. Richard mentioned earlier on is that we have to keep engaging with one another, and you can see and hear that this is really still a start of the conversation. And even more importantly than that, there is stuff we need to do that begins to convince other people amongst us that all is not lost, and that there is a worthy course in driving this forward. Jumai, final question on this panel to you will be to say, you shared a lot about the realities on the ground in your village and your challenge in terms of connecting with people back home. As we begin to wrap up right now, what is your message to fellow diasporans here in Sheffield and across the UK?
Yeah, thank you. In my own view, it's good to stay as one Nigeria, right? But the problem is we've got a wrong government, because these things that are happening, right? So many of us, we know the truth. We know the truth, but we don't want to come out and say it. The truth is the government is behind it. I want to say it again. That is the truth. It's so bitter, but that is it. Okay? So staying together is good, but if you know the people that are there, I grew up in the North all my life, right? There is a plan. There is a plan on ground for this thing. It's not just happening like that. The North is on fire. People from the South and East, they have seen the smoke and they are trying to raise alarm. If they don't raise serious alarm, that fire will catch up with them. And at that time, it will be too late. It's good to stay together, but if it's not working, if that is not working, let every one of us face his own.
Wow.
Yeah, that is what the lady that spoke before me said. That's what she meant. Yeah. Which me personally, I support. But if we really want to live together, then something has to be done.
Yeah.
Something has to be done about the government that is ruling the country.
Yeah. Well, something has to be done. It is a very strong and powerful refrain. I thank all of you guys who have joined in this conversation right now. And now I'm going to invite the final person who I would like to wrap up this session today with. Dr. Ifeolu Akintunde. If you could please join me on the floor right now. I'll release the rest of my guests right now. Dr. Ifeolu, you are based here in the UK. You are part of the Overseas Fellowship of Nigeria. You're very
of Nigerian Christians.
Of Nigerian Christians, absolutely. Yes. Thank you. And you're very passionate about the plight of people being persecuted, both Christians and non-Christians, being persecuted or facing insecurities right across Nigeria. You sat through this conversation, this town hall in Sheffield. You've heard what's on the hearts of people. As we wrap up, what is your message on the question, which way Nigeria? How do we go from here?
Okay, thank you very much, Pastor Ayo, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's been really wonderful, the relationship the OFNC has had with PSJ. It's young, but it's growing and it's really interesting. The first thing I should say is just something personal to begin with. So when I came into the United Kingdom, the only parts of northern Nigeria I had been to were Jos and Abuja before then. But I want to tell you that I was challenged by someone, a British missionary doctor who could speak Hausa like he used to preach in Hausa. His name is David Carling, and he spoke to us in Lancaster. And one of the things he said was, why is it he, who's essentially a foreigner, that has to bring issues that pertain to Nigeria to us? Oh, this wasn't in 2021, by the way. This was in 2002 or 2003. I think a part of the problem is we don't know our history. Maybe we don't care enough about our history. And he challenged me, and he said he'd been speaking to a lot of Christian leaders in the South who were not interested in what's happening in the North. So what Jumai said just now is really interesting, that the South is catching the smoke. Actually, more interesting than that is this thing has been going on for such a long time and no one has responded. Now, I'm speaking to people, not people in the village now. I'm speaking to people who are watching on social media. So I presume I'm speaking to the elite of society, whether you're in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, you know, people who can afford to watch social media. So let's look at it from your perspective. Is it distant or is it close? So I have relatives in Nigeria. My dad's in Nigeria, my brother's in Nigeria, I have cousins in Nigeria. And one of my cousins was in Jos during the Jos crisis a few years back, serving. And I remember ringing her every day just because I was checking up on her. She's my cousin. So the question again is it near or is it far? Because a friend of mine was also in Kaduna in the days pre-WhatsApp when the Kaduna riots were going on. And I heard him chasing his parents on the phone. Do you know those times when it used to cost you like 50, 60p or even more to call Nigeria? That's when he was calling Nigeria. The question again is it near or is it far? So how much do we know of our history was another question I asked. You know that narrative that the South is predominantly Christian and the North is predominantly Muslim? So during the Chibok crisis, I was doing, because part of my work is proofread, so I was proofreading for a girl, and she just happened to mention, a student at Warwick University, she just happened to mention she's from Chibok. Me being the curious person I am, I started to ask her questions. And it was only then that that narrative that the North is predominantly Muslim and the South is predominantly Christian was first challenged, because that's what everyone tells you. You hear it in the history books, you read it in all the British government publications are saying it, you know. And actually it's not true, because Chibok, and no one's mentioned this, is a predominantly Christian place. Actually, Borno State is quite Christian, which is why you've got two people from Borno State on this panel. But the narrative going on, and in the British government as well, is the North is predominantly Muslim and the South is predominantly Christian. So I want to challenge us to find out what's happening and to feel it as though it's happening to us. Because if we don't feel it, we won't do anything about it. You know, we talk about governments, we talk about persecution. In 1999, what did we do when 5 states declared that they were Sharia states? When our constitution is specifically secular, what did we say? If we didn't say anything in 1999, do we have the moral fiber to say something now? Because if we don't say something now, in 20 years' time, we'll have even less fiber to speak. So when things are happening small, 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 and gradually eroding these things, that's when we should start talking, so that we don't get to a situation where we hear that Islamic State of West Africa and Boko Haram are the first and the third most violent terrorist groups in the world, and they're both in Nigeria. That's bad. But how did it get there? Because we kept quiet when it was gradually happening, because we believed in the narrative that, well, it's happening to another person, not to me. But it's happening to me.
Yeah.
And because it's happening to me, I need to be able to say, can I hold my government to account? Is there any accountability in this government system? I'm not talking APC, PDP, anything. No. When elections, we always talk about elections and they're always talking about it's being rigged. Do we have any, are we sure that there's a legitimacy in the process? So we have everyone shouting, let's go and get our PVCs, let's go and vote in 2023. Are we going to vote the same people? Why do we think that the only way we can affect change is to vote? What about if we can affect change by being a part of the change itself, by being a part of the government itself, rather than going, oh, yeah, we can change things by our votes. But there's quite a lot more. And a lot of us are in Sheffield and abroad. So what are we telling our MPs? Because the MPs have this wonderful belief that it's a cattle herder farmer crisis. And no matter what people like Baroness Cox say, that is the narrative that's coming out of the government. The Archbishop of Truro produced a report. Like I said, I'm talking to elites here, so, you know, we can talk big. Produced a report that said 90% of the violence that's occurring in the world of a religious nature is occurring in Nigeria. And yet the government says it's a farmer-herder crisis. What are we saying? What are we telling our MPs? So these things are on the ground, but it's the narrative that counts. Because if the narrative is that it's a farmer-herder crisis, then the discussion will be what to do about water shortage, what to do about desertification. It won't be about what to do about people who are being killed, people who are in IDP camps, people like you and me. And I always like to tell a story. And that's because I'm a blind person. I got hit by a bus once. And I realized the difference in reaction between people who were blind and knew that they could be hit by a bus, and people who didn't quite understand but knew that it was a serious thing to be hit by a bus. The reaction was quite different. And so when I ask us to change the narrative, when I ask us to increase the kind of accountability, the third thing I'm going to say is, from the perspective of a person of disability, we're actually maiming our citizens, and we don't even have the resources. The Nigeria Association of the Blind is currently talking about how difficult it is to get books into schools, but more people are being made blind as a result of the violence. More people are getting onto roads that are inaccessible in Nigeria as a result of the violence. So we are actually creating more and more problems that we cannot solve unless we start to ask the questions that need to be asked, and unless we start to do something. 3 people so far have committed terrorist acts internationally that are Nigerian. One was the shoe bomber, and 2 killed a soldier in Woolwich. It is an intensely shaming thing for me to say that my country is producing people who do that. But then people in Nigeria are seeing worse. But we're not talking about it. And the truth is, the thing that the British government fears most of all is international terrorism and the international refugee crisis. And both of those things are likely to grow if nothing is done now.
Wow.
There's quite a lot more I have to say, but I think I'll stop there. God bless you all.
Dr. Ifeolu, thank you very much for those wrap-up statements that you've made, and they are very thought-provoking and very challenging, certainly for me, and I hope it is the same for those of us who have joined here in Sheffield and people who have joined anywhere or will be watching this later on. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it all, and I think you would also recognize very quickly that we are pretty much still in the fairly early stages of both the conversation and the reactions that need to be happening from those of us here in the diaspora. We have been challenged, and I really want to ask us to take up that challenge and be a part of the solution. I want to give my thanks, first of all, to all of our speakers this afternoon. Thank you for giving up some of your time. Dr. Richard, Jumai, Thomas, who have connected in from outside of the country. For those who connected in from within the country, in Sheffield and beyond, Jumai is actually in the UK. But whether you've connected in, Mrs. Rush, from inside of the UK, from inside Sheffield or wherever, I want to thank you for adding your voices to this very important discourse. Now, most of all, I want to thank those of you who have listened in, connected in to listen to what's happening at this town hall, or who will be listening to it subsequently. Now, most importantly of all is, what do we do from here going forward? And for that reason, I would really like to invite you to come on board and be part of what we're doing in PSJUK. Let us link our hands together. Let us make our voice a cohesive voice. Let us come up with some of these policies and documentations to take forward so that the solutions are ready to be implemented. Let us add our voice in prayer. Let us add our voice in speaking to one another. Let us put our resources on the table, donate to the work of PSJUK so that we can continue not just to advocate, but to physically help people in communities that have been displaced. You heard little things here and there about IDPs, and we didn't even really get a chance to explore that in great detail. Brothers and sisters in Sheffield, fellow Nigerians, friends of Nigeria, may we bring our efforts and our resources together to bring about a change, to answer the question, which way Nigeria? Thank you for joining us here in Sheffield. Please sign up to our newsletters. Please keep the conversation going on our website, and let us help to make Nigeria great again. Thank you so much for joining us. Apologies, it ran over a little bit than we expected, but let us make a difference. Thank you.